The NBA season is young. The Knicks are 5-5 right now. Good enough for ninth in the Eastern Conference. Here to break down the season so far is Mikey Dent and Dylan Brett. Guys, the conversation starts with Julius Randle. He's averaging 18 points per game this year, but he's shooting 34% from the field. If you take away his rookie year where he only played one game, that's a career low. So, Dylan, what does Julius Randle have to do to overcome his struggles?
I think it all boils down to just playing within himself and not trying to do too much out there. I mean, there's no reason for Julius Randle to have a higher usage rate than Jalen Brunson. There's no reason for Julius Randle to be taking 20, 22, 25 shots a game. That's why that 18 points per game could be very misleading. And as you touched on, that field goal percentage is not up to snuff for what we're supposed to be seeing as a first-tier star in the NBA.
What we see all the time in the NBA is that volume scorers never lead teams to championships. Julius Randle right now is trying to be a volume scorer, right? So he's coming out, he's attempting all these shots, he's shooting 26% from three. But here's the thing though, he can get boards, he can get assists, he's getting over 10 rebounds a game, he's getting over 5 assists a game. If he plays like a point forward, which he's more than capable of doing, we've seen a lot of success from this in 2021. We saw him average over 20 a game last year. We've talked about him being an all-star caliber player for the past half decade. The talent is there. He just needs to play to his strengths. He's not playing to his strengths right now.
When your all-NBA talent is struggling, it's kind of an opportunity for the younger guys to step up. So, Dylan, which of the younger guys need to step up for the Knicks to remain consistent?
I think a lot of people will look at guys like RJ Barrett to potentially step up. Obviously, he's kind of the third option on this team. But I'm looking towards those young shooters on the bench, specifically guys like Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickly. RJ is going to get you his 20 points a night. He's proving to be more consistent this year. But what doomed the Knicks in the playoffs last season against the Miami Heat? Shooting from downtown, consistently knocking down open looks. I need to see more from IQ and Grimes in the consistency department.
Well, the thing is, you mentioned a lot of people are going to say RJ Barrett. I'm one of those people that's going to say RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett is the third option on this team right now, but I think he has the potential to be a second or even potentially a first option down the line. You look at the other two people drafted in his class ahead of him, John Morant and Zion Williamson. They are the stars of their team. Their teams are counting on them. We can't say that the Knicks are completely reliant on RJ Barrett, but I bet a lot of Knicks fans would like to be able to say that. RJ Barrett's averaging 22 a game this year. You can pencil him in for 20 a game, but you need to pencil him in for more than that. You need the consistency, and you need him to show the prospect that he had been. He's still a young player. A lot of people forget this, just out of the 2019 draft class.
RJ Barrett, 23 points per game. That's a career high. So what if RJ Barrett doesn't take the next step? What if Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickly aren't great behind the arc? Dylan, what route do you take? Do you build around these younger players, or do you look to trade for a star?
Well, let me tell you one thing. Yeah, the fans are going to be unhappy either way because there's a large contingent of Knicks fans that want to hold on to that young talent, guys like IQ, Grimes, RJ, and there's a lot of fans out there that want to go after those first-tier stars. The Joel Embiid name's been thrown around a lot. Ultimately, I see this as a no-win situation for the Knicks because the market is just not optimal for trading for a superstar right now. I mean, teams are asking for RJ Barrett, multiple picks. So if the asking price is that high, I cannot, in good faith, advise a team to give up their entire future for one player.
The Knicks are in an impossible situation right now. They're stuck in mediocrity. And it's never okay for the fan bases to be okay with that, right? Say, for example, me. I'm on a scholarship here, right? If I'm bringing home C's every semester for every class, right? You get a C here and there, fine. But when it's always a C, as it's always been for the Knicks, C, mediocre, you're stuck there. It's not acceptable. The fans are fed up. They're going to continue to be fed up. And you have to make a move for a star. So whatever star becomes available, as you mentioned, Joel Embiid, if Zion Williamson becomes available, there's been a lot of speculation about him going to New York since, of course, the 2019 draft lottery, the Knicks have to make a splash because we've seen time and time again, too, this front office cannot develop young talent.
The timing is kind of poor. Joel Embiid, 33 points per game. That leads the league. But I want to talk about the Nets now. First full year under Jack Vaughn. He took over for Steve Nash in November of last year. Dylan, what are the expectations for Brooklyn?
I think this year is going to be a more telling year than any for Jacque Vaughn with the New York Nets or the Brooklyn Nets, because obviously there's not a lot of star power there to build around. So this is going to be a year where I look at Jacque Vaughn and say, what can he do with the pieces he's given? How well can he fit them together? And I think what he's able to do this year, and I think the play-in is a very realistic expectation for the Nets, is going to be a telltale sign of how his tenure in Brooklyn is going to go.
Expectations for the Nets this year, like I said, for the Knicks, a C. But the fans will be happy with it because you look at it, they have Cam Thomas, there's a lot of silver lining there. You have Mikal Bridges, there's a lot of silver lining there. But they're not in a spot where they're going to compete for a playoff spot, maybe get the 10th seed for the play-in, but you're not going to be making any type of run at any point in time. You don't have your own picks right now. you have to build from the ground. If you can't get it done with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, I don't care what star you trade for, they're not going to be able to get it done.
Brooklyn, their previous 3 games, 3 different leading scorers. And you mentioned Cam Thomas. Before his injury, he was averaging around 27 points per game. That led the team. So, Dylan, can Cam Thomas beat a guy on a championship team?
I'm going to say absolutely not for the time being, mainly because of his total ineptitude, lack of effort, whatever you want to call it, on one half of the floor. You cannot be the guy on a winning team in the NBA if you're not willing to make that commitment to defense. He's second to last on the team in defensive box plus minus. That is not conducive to being a superstar player at all. Sure, he can score at will. He can create for himself. I'm struggling to see him creating for his teammates as well. Obviously, Ben Simmons helped a lot in that department. But I can't see Cam Thomas being the guy when the commitment to defense just is not there.
The best case scenario for a guy like Cam Thomas, to compare to another New York athlete, is Carmelo Anthony later on in his career. I don't see Cam Thomas becoming a superstar, and you can't win a championship if you don't have a superstar. So if Cam Thomas is going to take that jump, fine, but he has to take the jump, like you said, on more than one side of the floor, and he hasn't done that to this point.
Cam Thomas